What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Shootin' from the Stache. I'm your host, Brandon, the owner, operator, artist, maker, and mustache behind Desperado Metal Designs. Today's episode is a special episode. It's my episode number 10, and I have saved one of the wildest, craziest stories for this landmark occasion. Now, when you hear the words Vikings, animal attacks, death threats, wardrobe malfunctions, I really don't think the first thing that would come to mind would be a festival vendor event. But all of those things have one thing in common. It was my very first Viking festival. I was excited to do it, and I had no clue that this particular event was going to be one of, hands down, the wildest events that I'd ever attended. And today, that's exactly what we're going to discuss. Strap in, hold on to your keister, and get ready for a wild ride. But first, let's see that intro. So let's get into it, folks. This event took place in 2020, and to kind of set the scene, I'll go back to some stuff that I'd said before. Booking shows and looking for new events and stuff to do, I rely on a lot of, just putting out feelers, word of mouth, trying to hit up contacts that I've met or made. I'll even Google, festivals and stuff that are going on around me. There's just a lot of different ways that I look for events to do when it comes to Desperado Metal Designs. And like I said, in doing shows, you just never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to be able to network with and what that networking can lead to. And one of the previous events that I'd done, I'd made some contacts and it led me to this event. This one group that I'd met doing another show, they go by the name Pirates of the Piedmont. Great bunch of dudes. Shout out to them. They go full pirate. I'm talking outfits, music, anything and everything in between. They go all out when they show up. And they've played a lot of different shows, a lot of different events. They've done festivals, kids' parties. I mean, they kind of do all kinds of stuff. But this one particular event that they were going to do was going to be for a Viking festival. And the Viking festival was put on by a group called the Vinland Vikings. I hope I said that correct. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. Now, this particular group, I'd never met any of these people before. I basically just, like a couple of other shows before, I just received a message from one of the guys from Pirates of the Piedmont, and they told me that they were going to be playing this event. It was a Viking festival, which was definitely going to be my first one. They explained that, it was their first event. They were looking for vendors. It was going to be held at a semi-local brewery called Mountain Valley Brewing. And, they told me that the festival was going to have axe throwing demonstrations. They were going to try to teach, like some Viking traditions and stuff. They were going to have some other vendors. Of course, it's going to be at the brewery, so, there's going to be beer and stuff on site. They were going to be playing later in the evening. The brewery had, like, other bands that were coming in. So, all in all, it just sounded like a good, fun time. So, of course, like I said, they reached out to me. I told them, yeah, sounds great. Just tell whoever's putting on the show that I'm in. Just give me the date for the show, a setup time, and I'll be there. So, of course, he hits me back up. Everything's a go. I mark it on my calendar, and then I wait for the event to come. So, as I'd mentioned in previous videos, sometimes doing shows that I haven't done before can be a little nerve-wracking. It's definitely got to be me stepping outside my comfort zone just because, going to a place I've never been before, doing an event that I've never done, like that type of event, meeting people that I've never met before. I mean, you just never know how these things are going to go sometimes. Sometimes they can go really smoothly. Sometimes it's just a cluster. Like, you just never really know what to expect. And that's definitely something I learned a long time ago. And it's definitely something that applies to this show. You just never know what to expect. So the day of the show comes, I punch in the address in my GPS. I'm following it. And the area that Mountain Valley Brewing is on, I'm kind of familiar with the area, but I've never been to this particular place. So, of course, me following the GPS, I'm looking for, like just a random brewery to be, like on the side of the road. And that's not exactly how it's laid out. So the closer I get, the GPS is going off, make the next right, you're at your location. And the next right is basically just a really long gravel driveway with a medium-sized wooden sign that says Mountain Valley Brewing Tasting Room. And way at the end of this road is just a white house. So, of course, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. I don't want to just drive up to someone's house and say, I'm looking for a brewery. That's a little weird. I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I don't really know anyone. So I'm just not really sure how that's going to go. So the closer I get to the end of the driveway, I'm starting to see some other buildings that's behind the house. And I can clearly see that it's set up for a bar. There's beer, wine, glasses. There's this big, like, covered, almost like an extended gazebo, big slab of concrete, but it's clearly set up for people to sit around and watch music and drink, and it's just a big bar outside. And the more that I look around, I'm seeing like some string lights and stuff like that. And what really let me know that I was in the right place was I just see these really big guys walking around in full Viking gear. I'm talking like, the big leather arm bracelets, the boots, the pants, the shirts. They've got, these big, huge knives on their backs, big beards, just the whole 9 yards. They've just went all out. So, of course, I'm feeling a little bit better about the situation. I at least know that I'm in the right place, or at least I think so. So I'm sitting in my car, and I'm kind of checking the place out. And I kind of hear a commotion going on outside. Like, I hear, like, what sounds to be yelling. But, of course, I'm in my car. The AC's going, radio, whatever. And I'm just thinking, I have no idea what that is. But, I need to get out and figure out if I'm at the right place, where I need to set up, what time I need to be set up by, all that stuff. And because I'm going through a second party, I need to figure out like who's kind of running this place so that I can get this information. So I go to open my car door, and as soon as I open the car door, I just hear F-bombs left and right. You effing piece of crap. I'm going to kill you. No, I'm going to kill you. Not if I kill you first. I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to jab it in your throat. I mean, just really violent, graphic stuff. And they're just yelling at the top of their lungs. And they're, like I said, they were both pretty big dudes. And I'm barely out of my car, and I'm just hearing this yelling going on. And I mean, they're just constantly just tit for tat. They're just going back and forth. And I'm just thinking like, oh God, am I in the wrong place? Like, what is going on? What is this? And as I'm standing there trying to process what's going on, a woman walks up to me and, talking very sweet, very nice, like, hey, how's it going? Can I help you with something? And I'm trying to explain to her like, hey, I'm Brandon, Desperado Metal Designs. I'm here to set up for the Viking Festival. And as I'm telling her this stuff, I'm kind of looking over her shoulder at this fight that's getting ready to break out behind her. And obviously she picks up on it and she says, don't worry about them. I know you won't believe it by what they're saying to each other, but they're super close. They're like brothers. They actually really love each other. They're just a little hot-headed. They're having an argument about the setup. It'll pass, and then they'll be back to drinking and, friendly, having a good time, whatever. And I'm just looking at her, just kind of nodding, thinking, God, I hope so, because I don't know what I've just walked into. There was a big part of me that was just saying, get in your car, go back down the driveway, go home, and just call it a wash. But, of course, me trying to step outside my comfort zone, me trying to, just get comfortable with being uncomfortable, however you want to phrase it. I said, okay, here we go. So I get out, I start walking towards the guys. I see a tent that's set up that's obviously theirs. And another guy walks up to me that was kind of like the leader of the group. I really wish I knew the individual guys' names, because I did come to find out super cool guys, super nice, super friendly, very welcoming to me, outside of, this argument that these two were having. Even after they finally squashed it, they were super cool too. But, kind of the leader of the group comes to me. I'm telling him the same thing I told the woman, and he's like, yeah, we were expecting you. I think it was Greg was one of the guys from Pirates of the Piedmont that had told him about me. So he was like, Greg told us about it. You're all good to go. You can set up beside our tent, or, just kind of wherever you want. We're still getting set up, and we've got a couple more, hours to go or something like that. And then everyone will be up and running. Cool. So I go back, get my stuff set up, and like I said, this place is out in the middle of nowhere, and behind their seating area, their outdoor seating area, and, beside the field that we were set up in, it's nothing but just mountain ranges, trees, and blue sky. It was just gorgeous scenery. Something that looked like, it would be in a painting or in a magazine or something like that. So, of course, after I set up this beautiful scenery, I'm just going around snapping pictures, just walking around, checking everything out. And the main guy that I spoke to that got me set up to where I was at, he had some family stop by. And, it was like his wife and kids, and, some of the other ones had friends and stuff stop by. And they were just going around and showing them everything, checking the place out. Obviously, they were checking out the scenery as well. And as I'm standing there taking pictures, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, my family's here. I'd like to get a picture before they leave. And we want everyone in the shot, but we need someone to take the picture. Do you mind? And of course I said, no, I don't mind. It's no problem. So when he goes to hand me his phone, it slips out of his hand and lands on the ground. So of course I'm like, no problem. I'll get it. I've been down to pick up his camera, and I hear my pants rip. And it was very loud. And of course, the first thing I do is snatch the phone, and I stand up real quick, and I'm looking at him to see if he noticed, but he had already turned and was walking back. And everyone else is just kind of standing around conversing and laughing, and they're not paying attention to me. So I'm just thinking, oh crap, I just split my pants. Let me take these pictures. I'll sit down, assess the situation, and figure it out from there. So once I get the pictures taken, I sit down, and I'm just, kind of moving around. It didn't seem that bad. I didn't notice any extra air coming through my backside. And I'm thinking, okay, it's probably just a small hole, at the most, maybe a 2-inch split. No big deal. I don't have any backup pants. It's way too far from my house to just, go back and get another pair. I'm already here. Screw it. I'm just going to ride it out and just whatever. Now, I will say, when I got home, I did not realize that it basically split from my crotch all the way up to the belt loop. Like, it split the whole backside of my pants out. And I just rode it out the whole day. But that was definitely not the biggest concern. Like, no one mentioned it. I don't even know if anybody paid attention. I tried to stay seated as much as possible, and, we're out there in a field, so when it started getting later anyways, no one's going to notice anything. So it really didn't bother me. It was just kind of funny when I got home and seeing how bad the damage really was. So to kind of fast forward, the show's up and running. Everything's going. People are starting to trickle in. They're trying out the axe throwing. They're showing them how to throw correctly. They're putting on demonstrations on how, the Vikings would use their shields to block and use their swords. And, they're just doing all kinds of stuff out there. A little later in the day, the Pirates of the Piedmont show up, and they played their set, and I was able to catch a couple of their songs, and I was able to get a small video clip of their shark song that they play, which was pretty entertaining. It was pretty fun. I'll throw that up so you guys can see that. And yeah, the show's going good. People are trickling in and out. They're coming, checking our stuff out. They're going by the brewery. They're throwing axes. They're buying some rings. They're, seeing what the Vikings are all about. It was just, pretty fun for the most part of the day. Now, to fast forward a little bit more, like I said, we're out in the field. When the sun starts to go down, the field's just kind of getting a little darker. And more people are starting to show up for Mountain Valley. Like I said, it's a pretty popular brewery in town, local brewery. They have music that they play, most weekends and several weeknights. They'll bring in different artists and stuff to play at their little outdoor setup. And I definitely have to make mention of this. So anytime I've done a show that's within a 30-mile radius of where I live, there is this llama petting zoo that's local to the area. And every time that I've done an event, like I said, within about a 30-mile radius or so, they have shown up. And they have the perfect sales pitch for their events. Because they have their petting zoo, they hold events, they do fundraisers and stuff, for their zoo to keep it kind of going and running. And almost any time that I've done an event close by, what they'll do is they will bring an animal, usually a llama. I've seen wallabies, donkeys, horses, whatever. They'll pick an animal, walk through the crowd. When people stop to pet the animals or to take pictures, they hand them a flyer for their event, and then they move through the crowd until, I guess, they're out of flyers and they're ready to leave. Now, this event was no different than any other event. It started getting later in the evening. Sun started to go down. And I look up because I see a commotion kind of going on behind where we were set up. And I see a donkey being led by the two people that run the zoo. And of course, I just kind of laugh and think, of course they're going to make an appearance. Like, it's local. They've been to every other one that I've set up at. It's just kind of funny that they always pass through the way that they do, basically just promoting their events. And like I said, they had a donkey with them. So they make their way through the crowd. People are taking pictures, petting the donkey, moving along. No big deal. Well, then they just kind of disappear into the crowd. I didn't know if they had left or whatever, but I just kind of completely forgot that they were, even there. More people were coming through, checking out the jewelry, checking out the Viking stuff. And, that was the main focus. So that's what I was paying attention to. Now, throughout the day, the Viking group had maybe, 6 or 7 people in their little tent space. They were having drinks throughout the day. One guy really liked to smoke, so he was having his smoke breaks or whatever, in between the beers and stuff like that. Of course, they offered me, food, drinks, whatever. But when I do shows like that, especially if I'm by myself, I really try hard not to eat and drink a lot because, I can't step away from my table if I'm there by myself to be running back and forth to the bathroom. So, of course, I just kind of passed on it or whatever, but, was still chatting it up and, meeting these people and having a good time talking to them, sharing some laughs. And, I learned some Viking traditions and stuff. Just overall, just having a fun day. But the toker of the group, he kept coming around and he was very friendly and very open. He basically told me, his whole life story. I mean, he was just 100 miles an hour. He was very much so like a hippie type, very one with nature, and he talked about a lot of different things. I even remember he kept trying to convince me to join up with the National Park Service because he thought that was just the killer dream gig. You go out there, smoke if you want, hang out, drink, check out nature, whatever, and get paid to do so. So of course, I'm just talking to him, talking to the rest of the group the whole day. We're just having laughs, just having a good time. So to fast forward a little bit, the night's kind of coming to an end, at least for us, because like I said, this field was so dark. They didn't have any lighting out there where we were at, where it's just kind of a big open field. The only light was really coming from the brewery where they had, like the outdoor seating and stage lights and stuff for the band that was playing. So we all knew it was, getting pretty close to time to pack up. So as we're just kind of sitting there, just talking, the night's winding down, you hear people that's having a really good time. They've had a few drinks in them. They're hooting and hollering and cheering and doing all this stuff. Well, out of nowhere, almost directly behind the Viking tent, I just hear this girl scream. And it was more like oh, God. I didn't think much about it. So then I hear like another scream like, oh, and it was more of like a pain scream. So I kind of step around the tent and I see one girl looking down, like holding her foot up. And she's complaining that she just stepped in animal crap. So I'm just kind of laughing, thinking, like, what animal's out here for that? And I kind of step out a little bit further, and I realize that the donkey that had came through is tied up to a picnic table that's in this field. And he or she was not happy. They were kind of freaking out. And I remember it hauled off and was, kicking. I think it had kicked a girl in the leg or something. The girl's kind of screaming out. People are kind of freaking out. It's yanking at the table. The people that were around that area were kind of panicking a little bit. And out of nowhere, the hippie toker decides, don't worry, I got this. And he had been drinking a lot, and he had been smoking a lot. He was in no shape or form to be trying to calm a wild animal down that is already agitated and already on the warpath. But he says to me something to the effect of, don't worry, I know how to communicate with animals, and I'm going to calm them down. So, of course, I'm just kind of like, no, man, I think you should just let it go. Let's just try to find the people that this belongs to. No, don't worry. I got it. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's, of course, walking straight towards this donkey that's just, kicking and bucking and going wild. And he's walking towards him, and he's got his hand out. And he's like, just calm down. Just calm down. Take it easy. I'm here. We're going to get through this. And to my shock and surprise, the donkey just, completely flips a switch and is just standing there completely still, just watching him walk up, with his Jedi mind power hand coming towards him. And I'm like, oh, crap, I can't believe that that's actually working. Like, I'm laughing at this dude, but maybe he does have some kind of ability to talk to this animal. Like, I didn't know what was going on. And he just keeps getting closer and closer, and he's kind of like looking back at us like, say, I told you I can talk to animals. I got it. I'm going to calm them down. It's no big deal. Just take it easy, bud. And as he turns back again to say something to, one of us, this donkey rears back and kicks this dude right in the chest and lays him out in this field. And I mean, sprawled out, arms and legs. He is down for the count. And everybody runs over to him. They're checking on him. He's out. The girl's still holding her leg, screaming about that. The other girl's mad because she stepped in some crap, and it's just chaos. Everything's just going wild. The donkey starts bucking and going wild again. And then just out of nowhere, the people that brought the donkey simply untie him and get the heck out of there. And it was at that point that I decided, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let me go ahead and pack up and get out of here too. So I pack up. I'm telling bye to everyone. Old boy that's, passed out on the ground, he's finally coming to. Thank God. He was okay. Definitely felt that the next day, but he got up. He was doing all right. And they were gracious enough to I didn't realize that they were doing a raffle. I thought they just, had some knives out on their table that they were showing people, but one of the guys said, you were really cool. It was really nice talking to you. You were super friendly, and you were willing to help us, pack up and do whatever. I feel like we bonded, and I wanted to give you this knife that we had for raffle. He said, nobody put in for the raffle. We could just take it back, but I would rather gift it to you. And I thought that was really cool and, you know, really nice and courteous of them to do that. And, you know, it was all handmade, the handmade sheath, the blade, the handle. It was really cool. I'll throw a picture up of that so you guys can see that. But that was just a really cool, kind gesture of them to do that for me. Very shortly after that, you know, I had everything packed up. I got the stuff back in my car and I'm back in the wind. And I just remember thinking, what just happened this whole day? A show unlike any show I've ever done. It's definitely one that I remember. It's one that I've, you know, told several people before, but it's sometimes even to me, like, man, if I wasn't there, I don't even know if I would believe half of this stuff that happened. Like, that's a pretty wild day. That's a pretty wild festival. But again, shout out to Vinland Vikings. I'm not really sure if they still have anything going on or if they're even still a group anymore. I tried looking them up and was going to reach out to them and stuff, but I couldn't find anything on them. Unfortunately, I can't remember names, so I couldn't remember any of the names to reach out. But yeah, shout out to all those guys. Super cool. Very fun, wild event. Hopefully, I'm sure they're still doing their Viking thing. But if any of them happen to hear this, you know, thanks for the invite. It was definitely a wild time. And also, anyone that's made it this far, I really appreciate the support. Thanks for checking the video out. If you'd like to see any of the stuff that I make, desperadomd.com, Desperado Metal Designs on most of your socials. If you have a beard or a mustache, check out Mad Viking Beard Company. And of course, if you like this video, definitely check out some of the other videos. I've got a good mixture of stories, life experiences, business experiences. I cover a pretty wide range. And once again, to wrap this video up, I'm Brandon, and this is Shootin' from the Stache. Cheers.